Okay, welcome back to our lectures, that is CA Foundation. Now we are discussing chapter number 2, capital and revenue transactions. What is that? Capital and revenue transaction. Under that, today is the lecture number 2 or 3. Okay. So chapter name is capital and revenue transactions. If you remember, in chapter number 1, I told you transactions are two types: cash transaction, credit transaction. Here again bifurcated into two types, that is capital transactions, revenue transactions. Capital transactions, revenue transactions. First one, capital expenditure. Here transactions includes purchases, sales. In first chapter, here receipts, payments, that means receipts, expenditure. So we'll cover capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, capital receipt, revenue receipt. These four are major points. In addition to that, one more concept is there, that is called deferred revenue expenditure. These five concepts will play a major role in this chapter, that is capital and revenue transactions. So let me see the capital expenditure. Capital expenditure means expenditure incurred on purchase, alteration, improvement of fixed asset. That means expenditure incurred on purchase of fixed asset, expenditure incurred on alteration of fixed asset, expenditure incurred on improvement of fixed asset. These three expenditures are called capital expenditure, not revenue expenditure. That is capital expenditure. That means in this single sentence there is three hidden sentences are there. First sentence is capital expenditure means expenditure incurred on purchase of fixed asset. Second one, expenditure incurred on alteration of fixed asset. Third one, expenditure incurred on improvement of fixed asset. These three are expenditure or capital expenditure, not revenue expenditures. Okay. Let me take one example for each point. First point is expenditure incurred on purchase of fixed asset. That means, let me take an example. Purchase of land. We are purchasing a land at a 20 lakhs cost. That means we are purchasing fixed asset. That is capital expenditure because we are acquiring fixed asset. That means purchasing fixed asset. Second one, alteration of fixed asset. For example, we have our own house for residential purpose. We are staying in that house. But as of now, we are altering our residential house to as a shopping mall. That means we are converting residential property to the commercial property. That means we are altering the total residential property into the shopping mall. That means we are altering our fixed asset. For that, we have incurred some expenditure. That expenditure is called a capital expenditure, not revenue expenditure. Okay. Whatever the expenditure incurred on purchase of fixed asset is a capital expenditure. Whatever the expenditure incurred on alteration of what is that? Alteration or improvement of fixed asset is also a capital expenditure. Last one, improvement of fixed asset. Okay. That means improvement of fixed asset. Let me take same example. We have a building with 2 floors. We have to construct one more floor in the same building. That means we are just improving our building by constructing another floor or another room. Either room or floor, just improving the capacity of the asset. That is called capital expenditure. Okay. Capital expenditure is nothing but asset, not expenditure. Even though it is showing it is expenditure, it is not an expenditure, it is asset. it shows like expenditure. In fact, it is not an expenditure, it is asset. Because we are purchasing asset, we are altering asset, we are improving the asset quality, that is capital expenditure. That means this is asset, not expenditure. Okay. If some layman comes to you, sir, capital expenditure is expenditure, and no, that is asset. Okay. For example, we are paying cash of 50 lakhs and purchase a building. Here we can't call it as expense. We are acquiring asset, so that 20 lakhs is not an expense, that is purchase of asset. That means I have to show it as asset purchase cost, not expense. Okay. So let me revise this concept. Capital expenditure means expenditure incurred on purchase of fixed asset, expenditure incurred on sale of fixed. 1 minute. Expenditure incurred on purchase of fixed asset, expenditure incurred on improvement of fixed asset, expenditure incurred on alteration of fixed asset. These three expenditures are called capital expenditure, not revenue expenditure, because it is related to the asset only. Okay. Examples: purchase of land, building, car, machinery, all these are examples of capital expenditure, because we are purchasing an asset or altering asset or improving asset. Okay. Next concept is revenue expenditure. Exactly opposite to the capital expenditure. Revenue expenditure is expenditure incurred for running the business. Ante business run cheyadaniki ee expenditure are compulsory. That expenditure are called revenue expenditure, not capital expenditure. First example, salary. If we are not paying salary, employee will not come to the organization. Without employee, there is no production, no sales, no profit. So that's why salary is compulsory for running the business. That's why salary is called revenue expenditure, not capital expenditure. Okay. Best example, salary. He said one example, cost of petrol for van, and even though that is not a capital kabatti revenue nature, that is revenue expenditure, that is important. We can't call, sir, this is not important, so capital. No, don't think like that. Revenue means in the normal activity for incurring, for running the business. Whatever the expenditure incurred, that is called revenue expenditure. Okay. Let me take an example. We are paying salary, revenue expenditure. We are paying rent, revenue expenditure. We are paying electricity bill, revenue expenditure. We are paying AC maintenance bill, revenue expenditure. We are paying projector repair cost, revenue expenditure. We are paying laptop repair cost, revenue expenditure. All these are revenue expenditure, not capital expenditure. Capital expenditure definition, if you see once, what is the meaning? Expenditure incurred on purchase of fixed asset, alteration of fixed asset, improvement of fixed asset. All these three expenditure are called capital expenditure, otherwise that is revenue expenditure. Okay. Next example is, next concept is capitalized expenditure. What is it? Capitalized expenditure. That means expenditure connected with the purchase of fixed asset are called capitalized expenditure. I repeat, capitalized expenditure means expenditure incurred in connected with the purchase of fixed asset is called capitalized expenditure. Okay. That means, let me take an example, then you will get a clarity. Because this is summer, we purchased an AC and delivered to our house. With that AC, we can't get a benefit until it is fixed to a wall. That particular thing of installation we can't do because we are not expert in that particular field. That means somebody has to come and fix that AC in the wall. For that purpose, one particular person will come, he will do the installation, total installation process. For that I have to pay some amount to that particular person. That cost is called installation cost. For that installation cost, I have to pay particular amount to such a person. Such expenditure also capital expenditure, not a revenue expenditure. That is called capitalized expenditure. ఏంటి సార్ అంటే ఏసీ పర్చేస్ చేసింది 35,000 రూపీస్. ఆ ఏసీ అలా ఉంటే మనకి బెనిఫిట్ వస్తుందా దాని నుంచి? నో. ఆ ఏసీని ఖచ్చితంగా వాళ్ళు ఫిక్స్ చేయాలి. ఫిక్స్ చేయాలంటే ఒక పర్టికులర్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్ పర్సన్ వచ్చి వాళ్ళు మాత్రమే ఫిక్స్ చేస్తారు. వీ కాంట్ డూ. ఆ ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ ప్రాసెస్ కి కొంత అమౌంట్ పే చేయాలి. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ కాస్ట్. దట్ కాస్ట్ ఈజ్ రిలేటెడ్ టు ద పర్చేజ్ ఆఫ్ ఫిక్స్డ్ అసెట్. అసెట్ కొనడం వల్ల ఆ కాస్ట్ ఇంకర్ అయింది. దట్ మీన్స్ దట్ కాస్ట్ ఈజ్ రిలేటెడ్ టు ది పర్చేజ్ ఆఫ్ ఫిక్స్డ్ అసెట్. సో దట్ కాస్ట్ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో ఫార్మ్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ కాస్ట్ ఆఫ్ అసెట్. That means that is also capital expenditure. That means that is also a asset cost. That is capitalized expenditure. Let me take one more example. We purchased a machinery. That means we are imported from America, USA. We don't know how to install that machinery. So some workers. We used work of some labor, and one person come, one expert came. Whatever we are paying to the total labor and such expert is called installation cost. One more point, such cost is related to the purchase of machinery. If no machinery purchase, there is no cost of no concept of that cost. That means we will not erase that cost. We are erasing that cost just because of we purchased that machinery. That means that expenditure is connected with the purchase of machinery. So whatever the expenditure incurred in connected with the purchase of asset is a capitalized expenditure, not revenue expenditure. That means that is a capital expenditure, not revenue expenditure. That means I have to add it to the asset. Okay, that is called capitalized expenditure, not revenue expenditure. Next point, next concept. Please note this chart first. Okay, then treatment of capital and revenue expenditure. That means treatment of capital expenditure, treatment of revenue expenditure. Just now we discussed capital expenditure is asset, not expenditure. That means whatever we incurring expenditure for acquiring the asset or improving the asset or altering the asset, that means ultimately we are getting a benefit from asset. So because this is asset, it will come under balance sheet asset side, not a P&L account expense side. Clear? Because this is asset, it will come under balance sheet asset side only. It will not come under profit and loss account or trading account, whatever it may be. Because this is asset, it will come under balance sheet asset side only. Because that is asset. Assets and liabilities will come in balance sheet only. That's why whatever the capital expenditure incurred will come under balance sheet asset side. Okay. Next one, revenue expenditures. Revenue expenditures are expenses, not assets. Let me take an example. We are paying salary. That is expense or asset? Expense. We are paying rent. Expense. We are paying power bill. Expense. All these are expenses. because these are expenses, it will come under profit and loss account debit side or trading account debit side, depending upon the nature of the expenditure. If it is wages, it will come under trading account, salaries will come under profit and loss account. That means what I am trying to say is, if it is a revenue expenditure, that means that is expense, that means it will come under either trading account debit side or P&L account debit side. If it is capital expenditure, it is an asset, so it will go to the balance sheet asset side, not P&L account debit side or credit side, because that is asset, so it will come under only balance sheet, not in any other place. That's it. Next concept is revenue receipts. Revenue receipts. We spoke about capital expenditure, revenue expenditure. These two are expenditures. This is a receipt, that means we are receiving from a other person. If we such receipt is revenue receipt or capital receipt, we have to find out. Revenue receipt means receipt or income which are received by the business organization in the course of normal activities or revenue receipts. అర్థమైందా? అంటే బిజినెస్ జరిగేటప్పుడు యాజ్ ఏ నార్మల్ యాక్టివిటీ నాకు మనీ గనక వస్తే దట్ ఈజ్ కాల్డ్ రెవెన్యూ రిసీట్. నార్మల్ యాక్టివిటీ అంటే ఏముంది ఒక బిజినెస్లో, గూడ్స్ సేల్ చేసేటప్పుడు వచ్చే రెవెన్యూ రిసీట్. అదర్ దాన్ సెల్లింగ్ ఆఫ్ గూడ్స్, దట్ ఈజ్ మై క్యాపిటల్ రిసీట్. Okay, if you see capital receipt definition, receipts which are not revenue nature are called capital receipt. Second one, which are not received now, this is not important, actually this is important. So capital receipts which are not a revenue receipt. Okay, revenue receipts means receipts which are received in the normal course of business is called revenue receipts. Other than revenue receipts are called capital receipts. Okay, let me give you an example. Normal activity means selling of goods, maybe production and selling or procuring of selling, procuring and selling or production and selling, whatever it may be, but sales is mandatory because otherwise there is no revenue for us. So for example, this Bluetooth is my good, that means we are purchasing this Bluetooth and we are selling this Bluetooth, that means this is my good, right? Because I am purchasing Bluetooth, selling Bluetooth, that means this is my good. So I am selling this good to you, this Bluetooth to you, you gave me the money. That money is called revenue receipt, not capital receipt, because I am selling my Bluetooth, my good, you are giving money. That means I am selling my goods, you are giving I am receiving the money for sales of goods, selling of goods, that is called revenue receipt. For example, same, my business is a Bluetooth business. Now I am selling my building to you. This building I am selling to you, and again I am receiving money from you. Here building is not my good, that is my asset. Here I am selling my asset to you and I am receiving the money from you. If the selling of asset and receiving the money, that receipt is called capital receipt, not revenue receipt. What is that? That receipt is called capital receipt. Summary, very simple, focus. In case of normal activity, anything received, that is called revenue receipt. Normal activity means generally includes selling of goods or selling of services. Other than revenue, that means I am selling my asset to you and I am receiving money from you. Here I am selling asset, not my good. So that receipt is called capital receipt, not revenue receipt. I think I hope you got a clarity. If I am selling my good to you, that is my revenue receipt. If If I am selling my asset to you, that is my capital receipt, not revenue receipt. Revenue receipt means in the course of normal activity only. Okay. My main point is not to selling of assets daily. No, my business is to purchasing and selling of Bluetooth, not asset. I mean, not of buildings. Okay. Let me take one more example. I am taking loan from Bank of Baroda 50 lakhs. That means I am taking loan from Bank of Baroda. That means money is receiving to me from Bank of Baroda. That means receipt is there now. We have to find out that receipt is revenue receipt or capital receipt. Guess చేయండి. గెస్ చేసి మీ ఆన్సర్ని కామెంట్లో పెట్టండి. ఏంటి ఏం చెప్పాను ఎగ్జాంపుల్? I am taking loan from Bank of Baroda 10 lakhs. I am receiving money. That means that is receipt, not an expenditure. That receipt is capital receipt or revenue receipt, you have to tell me. Guess, just a wild guess. Okay, I will tell you. The answer is revenue receipt, because I'm sorry, the answer is capital receipt, not revenue receipt. Why this is capital receipt ante, because my business is production of goods and selling of goods, not receiving loans daily from the banks. That is not my major normal activity. My activity is different. What is that? Purchasing of goods, selling of goods, or production of goods or selling of goods. That is not a normal activity, that is occasional activity. So that is a capital receipt, not revenue receipt. That means that is not happening in the normal course of business. That is different point. That means that is occasional thing. So that is a capital receipt, not a revenue receipt. I hope you got my point. See the example and give me the answers. First point, capital contributed by members. Whatever the capital is invested by the investor, we have to find out. That means we are receiving capital from members. You tell me it is whether it is capital receipt or revenue receipt. Yes, capital receipt, because that is not my normal activity. We are receiving when we needed the money. That is capital receipt, not revenue receipt. Second one, share capital contributed by the shareholders of members. Only when we are issuing the shares, we receive a share capital from customers. From shareholders. That means we will issue shares to them and they will give money to us. That is normal. That is not a normal activity. That is occasional thing. So that is also a capital receipt. Third one, loans raised. Just now we spoke about example number 3. That means we are taking loan from SBI, not RBI. RBI will not give loan to us, right? So we are taking loan from SBI. That means we are receiving money. That means there is a receipt. But that receipt is not a revenue receipt, because we are getting money from bank as a loan. That means that is an occasional thing. Not our main business is to getting loans and repayment of loans. Our business is simple, production of goods and selling of goods. So that is the capital receipt. Next one, proceeds from sale of fixed asset. Tell me. Simple, capital receipt, because we are selling asset, not goods. Next one, life membership fee in case of clubs and association. That means only one time payment in the total life. That one time payment is always a capital expenditure. Next one, legacies. Legacies means assets acquired or transferred in the way of inheritance. That means varasatvam. For example, if a father died, automatically that assets of the father will transfer to the his son. That is called legacy, varasatvam. That asset, that receipt is a capital receipt, not revenue receipt. That is not normal activity, right? Next one, government grants for specific purpose. Government grant, this is the capital receipt, there is no need of thinking. Last one, donations for a specific purpose. Important point. If donations received for a general purpose without any specific purpose, in generally without any specific purpose, that is a revenue receipt. If 1 minute. If donations received are for a specific purpose, that means they mentioned for a purpose of donation giving, then that is capital receipt. Put a note and write down. Donations received in generally is revenue expenditure, revenue receipt, because we are receiving, right? I repeat, note, donations received in general purpose is revenue receipt. Donations received in general purpose is revenue receipt. Second one, donations received for specific purpose is capital receipt. Next one, donations given for general purpose is revenue expenditure. Next one, illustration number 2. Please note this all the questions and I'll give you the answers. Okay. Question number 1. Receipts from sale of goods or services. That means we are receiving money for selling of goods or services. That receipt is revenue receipt because that is my normal activity. Are you getting my point? That is my normal activity. So that is a revenue receipt, not capital receipt. Second one, discounts and commissions are received. All these are normal course of activity. Discount receipt, commission receipt are common in the business activity, right? So that is also revenue receipt. Point number 3, interest on bank deposits. That means we deposited some amount in the bank. We are receiving interest on every month or every year. That is also revenue receipt because that is every month we'll get a interest. That is not a occasional thing. Next one, annual subscription in case of clubs and association. That means annual subscription. Every year we have to receive. We will receive. That is revenue receipt, not capital, because annual, no. That is every year we will receive. Next one, donations in general nature. Just now we spoke about it. Donations are specific nature aithe, that is capital receipt. For general nature aithe, that is revenue receipt. Next one, entrance fee. Entrance fee means that means every time he is entering, he has to pay some amount to us. That means we are receiving every time when he entered. That is also revenue nature. Next one, sale of old newspaper. That means while selling the asset, will receive some money. That is also revenue nature, not a capital. That is normal activity. Newspapers. Local rent revenue. Sale of tickets for entertainment programs, revenue nature. Please note this example and write all the questions answer is same. Revenue receipts. Okay. All the questions answer is same, that is revenue receipts. Next one, please note this chart. I will give you some time. Is it completed? Please write this chart. Capital profits. Capital profit is the profit which is earned on the sale of fixed asset. Please note this slide. After that, note this slide also. I hope you recorded. Capital profit means whatever the profit earned on sale of fixed asset is capital profit. If it is plus, that is capital loss. Simple. Let me take an example for capital profit. We have a land. that cost of land is 2 crores, 2 crores, and we are selling the land on today for 5 crores. Selling at 5 crores, purchased at 2 crores. The balance of 3 crore is my profit. That too, that is my capital profit, not revenue profit. Okay, that means profit earned on sale of fixed asset is capital profit. Next one, capital loss. That means loss suffered by a company on sale of fixed asset. Let me take one example. We purchased a building at 2 crores and selling at 1 crore. That means selling cost 1 crore, purchase cost 2 crores. That means we have a loss of 1 crore. That loss is called capital loss, not revenue loss. Okay, that means when we are selling a fixed asset, if we get a profit, that profit is called capital profit. If we get a loss, that loss is called capital loss. Simple. This capital profit and capital loss only related to the fixed asset, not to the goods. I hope you are getting my point. Please note this revenue profit and revenue loss also. If you recorded these two, we'll wind up this video. In next video, we'll discuss about revenue profit and revenue loss. Please note these two slides, revenue profit and revenue loss. Okay, please make it fast. Please note this slide also, revenue loss. So, what is meant by revenue profit? Revenue profit means profit and in the ordinary course of business. That means while selling the goods, if any profit we earned, that is called a revenue profit. Okay, what is meant by revenue loss? Loss suffered in the course of ordinary activity. That means while selling the goods, that is revenue loss. Okay, while selling the goods in the normal course of business, if profit earned, that is revenue profit. If loss occurred, that is revenue loss. If selling my fixed asset, if any profit earned, that is capital profit. If any loss suffered, that is capital loss, not revenue loss. Please identify difference between capital profit and revenue profit, capital loss and revenue loss, capital profit and capital loss, revenue profit and revenue loss. Okay. In next video, we will discuss revenue profit and revenue loss in detailed manner. Okay then. All the best.